The MLB season is getting close to its end, at least the regular season is. That means we're closing in on the playoffs, and that means we have some division races and some wild card races to look at. I'm going to preview the division races and wild card races to watch down the stretch, my predictions for them, and what I think could be the deciding factor in all of them. We're going to get straight into it here, right here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get straight into it. So, first things first, the American League East is something to look at. The Yankees are 81 and 54. The Tampa Bay Rays are 76 and 58. That's a 4.5 game difference. Now, what does that mean? The Rays have been closing in on the Yankees. I mean, everyone's been closing in on the Yankees pretty much in the American League East. But you would still expect the Yankees to hold out. It's not the biggest division race to watch right now. However, if we do get a couple further weeks down the road and it starts getting closer, then it might be something to really keep an eye on. The Rays and the Yankees, though, do play this weekend. That's going to be a series to watch, and that could potentially decide the division, depending on how that series goes. But in the American League, there's two races to watch. One is the American League Central. Cleveland is 70 and 64. Then Minnesota is 68 and 65. So Minnesota is only 1.5 games back. And then the White Sox are 68 and 68. They are 3 games back. That's the one to watch. The two teams who don't win that division probably aren't making the playoffs. So it's division or bust for whichever team wins this division. It's division or bust for the Guardians, the Twins, and the White Sox. It's division or bust for them. Win the division, get into that wild card round, because whoever wins this division will be in the wild card round, or miss it. Don't win the division, you're out of the wild card spot, and you're missing the playoffs, and you're going golfing early. That's it. It's a 3-way race. It could be very interesting. Cleveland will be starting a series against Minnesota after Minnesota wraps up their series against the Yankees today, as of recording. And actually, when you put it up, it's actually recording this here in the morning on September 8th. But Cleveland and Minnesota start their series tomorrow on the 9th. So that'll be something to watch. Chicago is going, the White Sox are going and playing Oakland. I think, again tonight. But you're playing Oakland. You would expect them to win. That's kind of where it's going to be. Then the AL wild card. As the AL West kind of decided, I know the Mariners getting closer to Houston, but they're still too far away. Tampa Bay and Seattle both have a 1.5 game lead over Toronto, who's in the third wildcard spot. It goes Tampa, Seattle, Toronto, and then Baltimore. They have fallen back in the last couple of games. They're 72 and 64. They're 3.5 games back of Toronto in the third wildcard spot. Toronto 75 and 60. Seattle is 77 and 59. Tampa is 76 and 58. Essentially, what the true race is, even if Baltimore doesn't make it, the race will be who finishes where, who's going to get home field, because I'm not sure, but I think Tampa will be fine for playing in Toronto. I think they're going to be mostly fine, if not totally fine. I wonder about Seattle. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they played in Toronto once, but I don't remember what their COVID situation was like. But if the wildcard series, remember, it's a 3-game series, and it's at the home stadium for one team. Whoever's going to be the 4th seed in the wild card, they get those 3 games at home. So if Toronto could get a little bit of an advantage from players not being able to enter Canada. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into the whole rules, whatever. It's the same rules entering the U.S. for the Blue Jays. Their whole team doesn't have to worry about that because they're vaccinated. I'm not going to get into that, though. We're not going to get into it. That's something totally unrelated to baseball. We're here for baseball. But I don't know what the situations are for the other teams, but it'll be interesting to see. Maybe Tampa could use some home field advantage, or Seattle definitely could use home field. I don't think Seattle right now. It looks like Seattle's going to go to Tampa. I don't think they want to go to Tampa necessarily. I think they'd rather go play Cleveland or Minnesota or Chicago, whoever wins that division. I think all 3 of these teams would rather play. The Blue Jays might be in the best spot because they're gonna get to avoid one of Tampa or Seattle in the first round, in that wild card round. They get to go play Cleveland. If the season ended today, it would be Cleveland hosting Toronto. And that's probably Toronto's best matchup. It's either that or you're playing the Rays or Seattle. And most likely not in Toronto either. So that's a big, potential thing is, or do we see maybe one of these teams kind of fade off a little bit once they got a postseason berth confirmed? Maybe they fade off a little bit because, like, hey, we want to play Cleveland. We don't want to play the other two. I doubt that'll happen, but it's something to look out for. So that's pretty much the American League kind of locked and loaded. The National League, it's kind of simple. The Dodgers, they're running away with that division. No one's catching them. And the Cardinals, the Brewers have really fallen off. The Cardinals are 8.5 games ahead of them. I think the Cardinals got the division locked up. Now, it starts to get a little interesting, though. In the NL East, the Braves and the Mets are tied as of today, September 8th. Both teams are 85 and 51. And this isn't the Mets having a collapse like the people saying the Yankees might. The Mets have been very good as in the last couple months, but the Braves have been out of this world. They're doing the same thing they did last year, except on another scale. They have gone in on a. I think they're like 61 and 24 in their last 85 games. Ridiculous. Like they've been ridiculous as of late, and they've made up the ground on the Mets. Now, both teams are 10.5 games out of the wild card spot. Out of that ahead of the second and third place wild card teams, which we'll get to in a second. So both these teams, both the Braves and the Mets, will be in the playoffs. It's just who's winning the division and is going to get home field in the NLDS, and who has to go and play in the wild card round against most likely either Philadelphia or San Diego. That's what it's going to come down to. Who's winning the division, who gets straight into the NLDS, who has to go play in the NL wildcard round. That's what makes this interesting. Now, when you look at the wildcard race, you're looking at it and you have the Braves and the Mets are tied for the division. Whoever doesn't win the division will have the first wildcard spot. That's set in place. Boom, they'll have home field for the wildcard round. That's set in place. However, the Phillies and the Padres are even in the standings. Philadelphia 74 and 61, San Diego 75 and 62. You could say maybe a little bit of that upper hand is with Philadelphia because they have one less loss, even though they have one less win. You know, you can't take away the losses. I mean, you can't just add on wins, but you can never take away a loss. So we'll see how that pans out, though. And then Milwaukee is 71 and 64, 3 games behind both of the Phillies and the Padres. That's going to be the race down the stretch. Can the Brewers get hot and get back into the playoff conversation? San Fran and Arizona, they're both too far back, 8.5, 9 games for the two of them. They're probably too far back. I'd count them pretty much out of it at this point. Even though the Diamondbacks are 73 in their last 10, I think they've lost 2 of their last 3 due to the bullpen just kind of imploding, which has been the Diamondbacks' mojo kind of most of the year. They don't really have the bullpen depth, even when they have good starting pitching performances, the bullpen isn't really there. But realistically, it's a 3-team race for 2 wildcard spots. It's the Phillies, the Padres, the Brewers. That's going to be interesting. Milwaukee's going to go play San Fran. San Diego has to play the Dodgers, and then the Phillies get to play Miami. The Phillies are playing Miami today. They start a new series next week. I don't know who that's against, but that's going to be very interesting. Now, for my predictions for everything, I'll start with the division winners. I think Houston, they're winning the AL West. The Dodgers are winning the NL West. I think those 2 are locked in place. I think St. Louis is winning the NL Central. I think that's locked in place too. The 3 divisions that come into question are the AL East, the NL East, and the AL Central. The AL East is probably going to be the Yankees. At this moment right now, I still think the Yankees win. I think Aaron Judge is doing enough to keep the Yankees floating, keep them afloat right now. He needs some help from some other guys, but Aaron Judge has kept the Yankees afloat right now, and I think he's going to continue to have this team on his back. But just keeping them afloat still could not be enough. We'll see. We'll see what happens this weekend. This weekend's really going to kind of shift the momentum one way or another, you would expect. In the AL Central, I have Cleveland winning the division. I feel like they have one of the best managers in baseball in Terry Francona. I don't think he's had a losing year there. Maybe he's only had one, but it was like a slightly losing year. but he's been amazing for them. They're 70-64. You know, I like Minnesota's top end talent more, but I feel like just Cleveland as a team, it's kind of like they got that thing going as a team. It's working for them. You know, Minnesota, they went out and were more proactive at the deadline. You know, and they have Carlos Correa and, you know, they have Byron Buxton, but I think Buxton's injured right now anyways. And Ori Polanco's injured. Arias has cooled down a little bit. He's not hitting way out of the stratosphere right now with batting average. I think he's down to like 315, which saying down to 315 is, you know, crazy. The fact that barely anyone hits 300 anymore, and he's down to 315, but that's just where it is right now. The Twins have been a little cold as of late. Not bad, but a little cold. And then the White Sox, they've been picking up some steam. I still don't think it's enough, though. They've been on the back foot all year. They are close to catching Minnesota, but it's not really there yet. And I don't see it happening. Then in the National League, it's really that NL East is going to be a great race down the end. But I gotta take the Atlanta Braves in this division. They've been too hot as of late to seem like they have any signs of slowing down. So like the Mets have, this is no fault of the Mets. This is nothing against the Mets. I think the Mets are a good team, a very good team. However, the Braves in the last couple months have been like ridiculous. And I think it's hard to slow them down. They've brought in some young life, calling up Michael Harris, calling up Vaughn Grissom, and you know, they don't have Ozzie Albies, but they're doing fine without him. And they have a great core. You have Acuna and Olsen and Riley and Swanson. And surrounding them, you're bringing in guys like Michael Harris and Vaughn Grissom, and you have William Contreras behind the plate to go with Travis d'Arnaud as a good kind of pairing behind the plate. I think Atlanta Atlanta has great pitching as well. That should be stated. Deep bullpen, great starting pitching as well. Spencer Strider, I think, will win the National League Rookie of the Year. They seem like they have everything just clicking perfectly, and it's going to be hard to stop them. Like I said, nothing against the Mets. I think the Mets easily make the playoffs. I think though we're gonna get Braves Mets division series. That might be one of the tightest division series, the most competitive division series we've seen in a while. Because both teams are in the division each other. They've both been amazing, especially as of late. And you know, I think both teams are going to go on a run down the stretch, and it's going to be neck and neck the rest of the way through. And there's going to be some tension that boils up between the two teams, and it's going to be very fun to watch. So I'm excited for it. The wild card races, I think, I don't think it really changes. I think Tampa, Seattle, and Toronto are the three AL teams. I do think Seattle's going to leapfrog Tampa just because I feel like Tampa's got a really rough schedule down the stretch. And then Toronto, I think, stays in third. And the third in the wild card race. Then a wild card, whichever of I not the Mets losing the division to the Braves, so the Mets would be the first wild card. I still think San Diego can be the second wild card. They do worry me though because they're in the NL West and they got to play the Dodgers a couple more times this year. So with that, I'm gonna have the Phillies be the second NL wild card team, and the Padres I think sneak in ahead of the Brewers for the third wild card spot. That's kind of how I see it going. I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls. Make sure to check out all the links in the description, the podcast, the website, the Instagram, and the Twitter. Check all those out, plus all the crew's Twitter. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell while you're down there so you get notified whenever we post. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls. Once again, my name is Derek, and I'll see you next time.